So that's first time I do such kind of lecture. So it will be mostly, I would say, kind of retrospective of my activities. So I'm French artist. I'm graduated from Grenoble Art School. It's in Isère. So it's about here. I would say a bit lost. Graduated from, I think it was 2005 with the MA. And I also moved to Czech Republic. I stayed for 2 years there. I stayed in touch with some other people from the school, and we decided to open a space called We, an art center. I will come back on it later. And I moved to, then I got my PhD in 2015 and 16. And approximately at the same time, I finished it when I was in Estonia already. I moved to Estonia in 2015. And a year and a half ago, I opened the video game museum in Tallinn. And also I'm guest lecturer in ATK. So my main, I would say that I would define me as intermedia artist. So I don't have a specific medium. I'm practicing intermedia is a Fluxus term that defining every other medium which are not part of the so-called fine arts. So I'm not a sculptor, not painter, not graphist, but I used every other forms of I would say production and as a performance also, but I started from photography. When I finished the school, I was interested in. I started to be interested in photography mostly from. I will. Maybe we can go on my website. So it's camillelorelli.tumblr.com. So it's not really a website. So it's only that. And when you click on it, which is actually faster to just write Camille Lorelli on Google. So I was interested in photography. Mostly I was taking picture as, when I was student, I was taking picture more as a documentation of my installation. So I had already this kind of maybe confusion that never managed to know like which medium would give which medium would help me to understand like if it has to be an installation, just an object, I was already focusing on this idea of practices, like when are you considering a work finished. So, but step by step, like I found out that my documentation materials became photography in itself, almost by accident, in the sense that when I started to have exhibitions or publications, people invited more, asked me if they could publish or exhibit such or such this kind of these pictures or another one. So I almost consider that I became photographer because main of my work that was exhibited was photography. And also I was not so much against, in the sense that I was a pretty I don't know if it's influenced by, but like artists like Shema Madoz. I don't know if you know. So that's the kind of yes, photography that that's him. But I would say that it was very classical way. Yes, it's like I was interested, but I don't know how far that was if it was that I wanted to do. But yes, so if I come back to my come back here. So I even not cannot. There is no clue to say like titles about that works, in the sense that I constantly changing them when it's exhibited or when I have a publication, when it's published. I'm usually shifting the names of the works. I think mainly it's more like, of course, as maybe as a joke. So sometimes it's untitled. Sometimes the title is usually changing in the context of the exhibition, context of the situation, and I like this idea that the work is not finished. Actually, like the fact that I could like constantly reactivate the work by changing something, changing a year, changing a name, or yes, it's, I don't know. I like the idea. I think mostly. Yes. So there was this idea. Of course, I was also I'm very grateful to artists like Fishley and Dice, that I guess you maybe know. They are Swiss artists. They are mostly known for their photographies. I think that's funny because this one is one of the most famous. but don't found. Ah, yes, that's the one. Balance series. But also, so that's a bit some kind of smiley regards that the video that you have just seen before was a found footage, in the introduction with the found footage of the hands doing stuff. Was it's a found footage from the serial MacGyver that I made a few years ago. It was for the I finished the work. I had the work from I was working on it from long time ago, but I was working on it from there was no digital version of that serial MacGyver, and so the only way I had to, I can actually come back to it, was that one. So I couldn't, it was really like when I started to work on it was at the very beginning of the peer-to-peer. So the only version of the episodes I could get was version from VHS or from different TVs in the world. So I constantly had some kind of logo, or it was on pretty bad quality. So I never managed to really make it. And it's because it was published as DVD, on DVD, that I managed to work on it. But there was a protection on every DVD. So I started to work, I wanted to make it as easy and simple as possible. So I made screen records of on some specific part of the episodes. And then I made all the video editing on QuickTime. I don't know today if it's still possible to make it, but at that time it was very easy to make copy paste. So it was very easy, I would say, process to make it. What was long was to investigating in the whole episodes, because I had there was like I think there was 9 seasons, so it was pretty long, and there was maybe 20 episodes per seasons. So it was a pretty long process. And of course, one of my main concern in the idea to be artist is this question of practice. And there is a high probability that I'm interested in the work of artists like Fischli and Dice, because I was watching MacGyver when I was a kid. And I think that MacGyver has something that with my problem with this question of practices. And so there was a kind of there is a kind of, yes, a kind of joke, without to be like a serious, I would say a serious joke, that so we have these two hands. I even not sure if it's so important that it's MacGyver. It's just that I knew that in MacGyver I could find this this frame. So 2 hands working as in an emergency, but emergency for like useless emergency. There is this kind of ellipse between the every footages that, okay, like as if there was a narration, a story behind, like could drive the viewer to some kind of goal. So, but at some point, like it's pretty long. It's a pretty long video. It's a 20-minute video, even more. And I have 2 different versions of it. But this one. So yeah, so it's a loop video anyway. There is no ending. So anyway, you don't remember what he was doing before. So yes, there is. Yes, it's a no clue, a kind of no clue emergency. And yes, why I was talking about this Fischli and Dice, mainly because of that. Yes, this So that's one of the most famous film from Fishy and Dice. Here it's just an extract. So it's a chain reaction. Actually, when I write, when you see what I am writing, like name of an artist, or if I show a video, like you just have to, I don't put sound, and like that you can just put from your own computer, you can check the video I'm talking about, for example. So if you don't know that film, I really invite you to check it. It's one of the most important video piece I ever seen since. So it's not direct, of course, reference to that film, but that's the kind of work I would say that inspiring me. So I would say that yes, I was in this kind of I am in this kind of in this kind of mood when I think about I would say when I think about art. And when I think about this idea of having a practice, but also so I'm also very interested in the with the question of the space. So I also have a curating practice. So as I said, I was running an art space called We in Grenoble that we started in 2008 with art historians and artists. Très choqué, éditions Allaire, Centre d'Art, oui. I can show the space. So that's yes, we started in 2007 until 2012, and Navid Noor was the last exhibition that we met there. First exhibition was BASDEF. I can show maybe from the picture we can see. Mm-hmm. So it was 200 square meters art space. Try to see some general views. Maybe. Mm-hmm. I have an idea to show you the space. I have a video I had for one exhibition. L'Aurélie. Actually, it's pretty interesting. It's a video from exhibition actually I had there. Mm-hmm. Yes. So the sound from the sound from the background is coming from a video shot by Ibro and while I'm snoring during while I'm sleeping. So that was the sound during the exhibition. And here is my collection of ashtrays. Okay, that was mostly to give you an idea of how the space looks like. So we had to close the place, and I had in mind, so we are still in France, of course. I met Tomáš Vaněk when I was in Czech Republic, and he used to run in Prague and different other places in Germany also and Russia, something called Showcase. It was small boxes in Showcase. Maybe I can find Tomáš Vaněk. No, of course it's a hockey player also. But Tomáš Vaněk is also a mixed media artist and is now the dean of the faculty of art in Prague. But I will showcase maybe showcase art because it's the original pictures. Maybe from here I can find. Okay, so that's a showcase. That it's a box originally that came from Czech Republic and was installed in place where there is no more where there is no cultural or no galleries, no art space. So usually it was fixed on bus stops or abandoned walls of abandoned buildings, and I had the idea to install it in Grenoble. So he managed to send it to send one to me, and with the perspective to install one that I could run. And for me it was nice alternative after to have like we were glad to stop the activity of this art center, the sense that it was a lot of it was a big investment in terms of time and energy, and we all had different activities and working with the works of the others also, and it was a pretty tough activity. And so the idea to work on a showcase for me, it was pretty interesting. Like, it's a small space, don't need the same involvement in terms of energy. The space was installed in the street, so there is no need to open the space and to close it. It's constantly available to the audience. But I needed to have, because I wanted to install it in the center of Grenoble, in the city center, because there was no at that time there was actually no gallery, no art space in the center. Usually in France, the politic is mostly to put this kind of activities outside from the center. Like that, the city is able to rent, of course, the space for more valuable activities like shops for shoes or clothes or stuff like that. So it was a bit like a small regards to that, to install a showcase in the center. But after 2 years of tries and discussion with the city, every time I found a place, it was refused to install it, because it was necessary to make some holes somewhere, but I almost needed the authorization from UNESCO to make a hole on the wall. So what happened by accident is that during a walk in town, so I found this these windows inside like it was two windows that was like going to nowhere. It was more like a showcase. So I asked the authorization to like to use that space to make a gallery. So Pascal Rioux and Anthony Lenoir and Geoffroy Michel, which are ones Pascal and Anthony are art historian, and Geoffroy Michel is an architect. So together we started to run the space showcase. So now we are doing that since 7 years now, and it's still running. Now I'm doing it by distance, but I had this situation with that showcase. Where I put it, with that one that I couldn't install. So at that time, it was in I think 2011 maybe, 2013. I've been in touch with, I was giving a class in ECA. It was for, during exhibition, it was a GIF exhibition. With the student, we made one show in the student from photo department, I think. So we made an GIF exhibition, and there was at that time a group of students that became later Rundum, that now is more like on the group is on the break. But I asked them if they would be agree if I send them this showcase to run the place. So the Rundum showcase was actually like this box from Tomasz Waniek and the group PAS. So when I arrived in Estonia, I came back. So we had discussion, and I finally installed I run again the gallery. So mostly it's run by students having their internship at my studio in arts. And well, because of the coronavirus situation, of course, we cannot run it as I expected, but it's installed since a year and a half now on the Wall of Arts, and there is like temporary exhibitions organized there. So you have some time, you can find it on the Parnumente, on the Arts Building facade. And so I wanted to launch another one during a class that I currently have on Volta, but because of the situation, like we couldn't install it. So it became a online space. actually that you can get, I don't know if it's possible to get access from here. If I go, maybe yes, because I shared it. So for temporary, I don't know, maybe it will stay, it will be for longer time. Maybe it will be not temporary online. Mm-hmm. So they show it here, but mm-hmm. Here. So it becomes, so it's students from MECA that currently are running the gallery. So it became a virtual space. And that Florian, Josh, Agathe, Alan, Miriam, and Irina are running together. So every week there is a new artist invited. So they are by themselves. They are making like the programmation of the gallery. And so I invite you to go. You can go Showcase Tallinn and have a look on it. So it's the size of the current gallery that it's supposed to be fixed on Volta. So I'll let you have a look on it. So this here is the showcase. That's the current exhibition on the Ars Showcase. Also, I started another space called PFS for Portfolio Space Gallery. It's on the website of Ars. No, I'm not sure. PF Space, yes. So current exhibition is Alexandra Galkina. It hasn't been uploaded since a while, but we already had pretty. So it was every month, every 2 months, there is we invited one artist to show his portfolio. So actually, I see that on this website doesn't work properly. So I will go on. Okay, it's redirected, so that's problematic. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's something. I cannot go back anymore. Okay, this is new. So how I can get on it if I am here? Okay, so this is temporary. Maybe it's my computer, but it doesn't want to run the portfolio. So, okay. Basically, you can try on your computer, but so yes, so you can have a look later, but you can read the portfolio. So usually I'm asking the very, very small description, and I posting the portfolio. Maybe, yes, it's working. Actually, I didn't wait enough. So the exhibition is the portfolio itself. So let's try another one, like for example, compliments, for example. Let's see. I hope it's working. Yes. Okay. So the fact that you cannot move, actually, you have a lot of exhibition to see from that, from here. Maybe it can be helpful for if you are questioning yourself, what could be, how could be my portfolio? It can give you ideas. So some artists played with this standard. Some used the occasion to create a piece for that occasion, and some others sent like a regular portfolio, I would say. Yeah, so this is actually, I don't know, can I didn't look at when I started, because there is some other stuff I wanted to talk about. So ça commence 3h30. Non, ça a commencé à 4h, donc j'ai encore 20 minutes. So as you can see, yes, there's the dimension of yes, I have a kind of yes, the notion of game and play is pretty important in my in the way how I imagine this idea of practice. And so yes, and also I used to play a lot video game also when I was a kid. I used video games for some video works that you can find from my YouTube channels or Vimeo. Like if you write can be already, I think here it was at the very beginning of Hearthstone. It's funny that it was a game that Hearthstone at that time, there was almost no players, and I enjoyed that game so much, and I remember playing it and thinking that it's so sad that this game will never work at all, and I couldn't expect that actually it became like what it became today. So here is this. It was some tries. I was trying the game, so it's pretty old. Like this video was uploaded in 2011. So I think it's maybe a few months after the game started. And it's a portrait from Serge Comte. He's a French artist who lives in Iceland. He's a multimedia and intermedia artist also. And it was some kind of, yes, I would say maybe an homage to Serge Comte. Serge Comte, you can find his work, like if you write it like that. Yes, Serge Comte. Serge Comte. So, and you can check his work here. So he's, I would say, Serge Comte is pretty important artist in art field, in the sense that he's one of the first artists who started to create online artworks or creating exhibitions online during the 90s. And yes, and also my idea with this video from Serge Comte, with this Minecraft Portrait was really just like very easy reference that he produced a lot of installation by Lego, from Lego, like CPM, these ones, for example. It's auto portraits made from by Lego, from Lego. Bastien, like, who's one of his small rabbits. Yeah, so yes, and one video, also another one, one video from this one. I have it, I think, in my computer. Brody. Suicide solution. No. Brody. Brody. No. Okay, let's try online. Ah, yes. So this is just an extract, but it's a 20 minutes, originally 20 minutes video. Hope it's working.
你觉得唱歌怎么样？你不会是喜欢上放歌了吧？你看到他会心跳加速吗？会。会开心吗？会。
So, yeah, so it's 20 minutes of video game characters making suicides. And so, okay, maybe it looks like very dramatic, say it like that, but of course it's a very ironic video. So it's called Suicide Solution, but so there is a game, or like a play word with the, like when you are locked in a game, usually you are looking online for the solution, but also it's now also the second term is a walkthrough. But yeah, so it's the suicide solution, like to finish the game, you eradicate your own character. but okay, beside this pretty sad way, actually, I was mostly interested. I was thinking that maybe there is a way that I could actually do the same work as a collection of to make a collection of videos of people making video to explain how to get infinite life in video games. Infinite life also is also like a very it's something that is less doesn't make sense anymore in video games because it's a different gameplay evolved, but it was something that you could reach with some cheat codes, like you do some manipulation on your controllers, and you can access to some kind of god mode, like you can get shift the levels, be invincible, having like infinite lives. So I started to be to enjoy the idea that would be nice to have a collection of videos of people telling tricks to how to get infinite lives. But the thing was that actually this is not so much possible anymore with contemporary games, and because of course games evolved, and this principle of to lose life is also a way to contrast the difficulty of the game. And so now you are not actually, when I was making my research, I found out that it's not about to have life, but to have health. And so if I would make that such kind of work, I had to search for infinite health, but there is no more anyway cheat codes to have infinite health, because the gameplays are made that if you hurt by anything and losing some health, if you just hide somewhere, wait a bit, and your health is recovering. So, but the idea was pretty interesting. This idea of gameplays, because the idea of to having life, it means that you lose one, and then there is some kind of resurrection, and there is a yes, your conditions to accept that your character, there is a wish to create it is called immersion in the game, and but every time like you lose and you come back to life, like the fact that you are not sad that you lost your character, actually there is no like the immersion is actually not so good. So which is interesting also in contemporary games is that the fact that you cannot die in some way, there is something connected to transhumanism and the augmented body. You are absolutely okay with the idea of to not die. So yes, the idea of this. So currently, I would say that with this, it's actually the short part of the story, but the idea of the museum somehow started from that idea, and also I've been. We'll finish maybe with that. Klaus Oldenburg. I don't know if you know Klaus Oldenburg. With the store. So you open a place in New York, a small space, and where he was making like sculpture made from plaster and painting. He was selling like cakes, cookies, furnitures, vegetables that was, I would say, like pretty made from in a pretty raw way that he was selling in his store. So it certainly ran for 2 years. But yes, I always thought about like this kind of like idea of having a gallery that's working like that. It's pretty, yes, very interesting way to also the work. Maybe both areas. I recommend you also to have a look to Marcel Brouters and Département des Aigles. So it was, no, Marcel Brouters. Oh, comme ça. So it was a place where I would say it was an atelier. So Marcel Brouters was an artist from Belgium, and during the 70s he used to transform his atelier and as a museum, but he was mainly exhibiting boxes that was used to transport artworks, and he was poet also. Try to find, but I don't find some correct picture here to show it. But okay, but maybe I overpassed the time already. So I don't know how to finish it, but
there's no hurry. You actually have up to half an hour yet to.
So, really?
Yeah.
Yes. Ah, okay. So that's nice. So maybe I could come on that. I could come back on for about the museum. So I opened a year and a half ago this museum, Level Up. Maybe it would be better from check the battery. Okay. Now he went to the website. Maybe I'm not sure if I want that. Ah, yes. So it's located in Ars. And it's a space. It's a 200 square meter space. It was an old, not so old, but the building is very old. But it was a company installed before that used to produce metal artworks, but it was in very bad condition, the space. So we renovated it, and we decided to transform it as a living room. It was furnished by objects and furnitures that we found in second-hand shops. That most of the people was getting rid of that materials. But if I come back, but it was open to the public or the audience. And I don't know. So if I come back to what I was talking before about this idea of transhumanism and relation to life in a virtual world, I started to. I had this idea of to produce to make an exhibition where I could put these questions, this idea of practice, this idea of infinite life and augmented reality. Actually, like this idea of augmented reality came to a very funny situation that so I'm also represented by Russian foundations, Smirnov and Sorokin, and I worked for several years with a lot of Russian artists, mainly from activist art scene. And a part of my PhD was about Avgei Tiroganian, and was a Russian artist and political refugee in Czech Republic. And he was painter, but also sculptor and performer, mostly like an intermediate artist also. And he was condemned of 4 years of jail to have broken, destroyed industrial icon orthodox icons, industrially produced. And for that, he was condemned. So he moved to Czech Republic. And thanks to two artists, Ivar Skravleš and Alice Nikitinova, a photographer and a painter, I met Avtej. And from his way, like I had occasion to meet his son, David Teroganian. I didn't talk too much about him, but I think it's more like it's I will maybe another time. And I started to be in touch with the activist Russian scene for many years, and I started to organize the exhibition with their works. And at the same time, I had this term, like it's interesting to see that augmented reality is actually a term which is used for new technology, but if you think about the words, it's very interesting. It's a very interesting word. Like maybe activism is actually augmented reality process, and maybe to be artist is in itself an augmented reality process. And so my idea was to organize a kind of triptych exhibition, like where the first one would question this idea of augmented reality through this prism of infinite lives. And so this is what happened. Like, so in 2016, I organized this exhibition in Kunstione, Lina Gallery. I invited activists. I made an exhibition from activist artists. You can actually fund the exhibition. So it's called the Infinite Life. Kunstione. So exhibition I curated with Nicolas Duro also. He's a curator and art historian. So you can find the information of that exhibition here. You can, I think, like you got the words, but you can even make a screen capture and you can get it and come back on it later. And so the second, so there was no that it was like I would say, like I summoned augmented reality but there was virtual reality, but there was no technical device that was presenting this idea of augmented reality, or so it was not a technical exhibition. It was mostly yes about how to own your own reality. And so of course the exhibition didn't work so much, like but yes, well, for me it was an artwork, I would say. And so the second part would be called Infinite Life also. So it became at that time I transformed sometimes my studio as a video game museum. So I was, when there was a open studio, I was transforming my studio as I was installing. I found some screens in the with the help of the new media department of ECA. I got some SCART screens and I was installing in my studio consoles, video game consoles. And so when there was open studio, people were invited to come to my studio and play video games instead to show my works, or they were invited to play, that's all. So after a few times, so the graphic design department asked me if I would be interested to give like some class about video games, and that I accepted, of course. And the National Archives, I was discussing with National Archives to have an exhibition to the Film Archives, National Archive of Estonia and the Film Archive of Estonia, to organize a video game exhibition in their gallery. So I combined both, and the student that I've seen, like Sigrid Lira was there. I don't know if she's still there, but Anneli Kripsar I see also. So some students from, with students from the graphic design department, they helped me actually to investigate and to to found like the Estonian context of video games. So like a kind of exhibition, like with this retro perspective, like how was video game during the 80s, 90s. And the exhibition worked pretty well, I would say. And I was a bit like frustrated that actually this kind of events are usually most of the time they are temporary. So my idea was to have something that could be permanent. So I met Andres during that event, and we started to chase for some place that we could install. We could build that museum that we could call actually a museum. So after some discussion with Ars and the Artist Union, finally we found a way that we could install in that factory. But of course I still had this in mind. So the triptych, like the third part of this exhibition was had to be something which was mainly was to use. I wanted to organize an exhibition, to do an exhibition where I used only video artworks from artists that used video games in their work, and it was very nice because actually when we got the space, the idea was also to open an art space in the museum. So I already had the idea of this space that would be in that factory. So it didn't happen instantly, like it took a while before the gallery starts. But the idea was that the students that who help us to build the place, to run the Infinite Life gallery. Actually, they decided themselves about the title, but it was like somehow, like I would say, like to finish this triptych. With the previous exhibition, like the gallery in itself became the work in itself, and now it's so the gallery became used the name of Infinite Life Gallery, and it's run by students from ECA. Now it's like I would say like the team enlarged in the sense that now there is students from also curating departments. But yes, of course, like there are only 2 shows been launched since the last month. But yes, of course, because of the situation, like the gallery is postponed for the moment. I hope that we will reopen the space as soon as possible. So yes, so I see. Yes, well, I think I will stop for a while now, because also I would have that would be interesting for me to talk also about like music label that I'm running with some other artists. That also be a very important part of of my decisions, I would say, of my choices, and like where we used like the music as an excuse to produce other forms which is not at the end, like the question is not about music, but more about activities and practice. So yeah, so I would say that all that I talked, it was shuffled, it was clumsy in some way, but it gave at least a pretty large scale, I would say, on what is for me defining a practice, and when I'm showing what is mine. And so maybe if you have I'm open. If you have some questions, don't hesitate. I don't know if everything is mute or is my sound is not working.
No, we can hear you very well.
Okay. I think I will stop from now. But please, I can maybe if you ask some stuff, I could come back to some things more specifically or more precisely, or some general questions or critics. I think it's worse than if you are in a room and no one's are talking. You just see red microphones.
So we have a question in chat. Can you look?
The chat. Okay. Sorry. Maybe if I cut the share, like if I do, no, it's not there. Moment. I forgot how to turn off the screen share.
I can do it for you.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Cool. I can even maybe activate the and the chat. Alors attendez. Like Zoom, no. Of course, I'm not working with them. But it's Zoom is very interesting actually because I think that one of the I'm not from Estonia. I don't know them so much, but one of the leader of Zaum is I think Kao Kentor. I think that is. He's also like a poet, writers, and an activist, I would say. And it's very interesting. I was very surprised that they were working. Actually, I know some people worked recently for, I forgot the name, Elysium.
Disco Elysium.
Disco Elysium. So it's funny because actually, when the game was under process, I had the occasion to see like the development of the games, but I would say I'm lucky because there is no, actually it's not anymore Estonian company, it's a British company from now maybe a year and a half, sadly. But yes, I'm not, we are not so much connected. We know developers, but we are not very, myself, I'm not a developer as I understood. I would say that I felt into video games more from art, art process. Bonjour, je m'appelle Mario. Hello, I'm Mario. Nice to meet you. How are you? I'm Estonian. Okay. When do you get ideas for your works? Everywhere. I try. It's funny because I try to not talk. I try to not use the term work. It's very hard. I already managed with concept project, so I managed to remove it from my vocabulary. But works is very hard. Do you make a sketch before starting with new? Actually, sketch. I can show like I started. I started to sketch on my mobile phones a few years ago, and I really enjoyed the idea, and I started to actually sketch mostly on my mobile phone. Now I had the break because actually my phone broke, so I couldn't make it anymore. So it's very hard when you lost the tools, when you develop an habit and you lost the tool from that habit, to come back on another one. Like you just, when you start to be, you familiarized with when you are familiar with an interface and you have to shift this interface. Yes, but no, I'm not. No, I think I'm not sketching before to do something. I'm writing, but I'm not sketching so much. I used to draw a lot, but not anymore. Does the object sounds in your art always serve a deeper meaning? No. Could you show us some of your sketches maybe? Ah, yes, I can. Can I share? Yes. Could you share my screen? Oh, I can make it. Yes. Facebook. Myself. No. How can I get to my photo? Oh, this is terrible, but it was from a game that I had on my mobile phone many years ago. It's called Pledge, and you have to develop a virus that destroy everything on Earth. And but I called that virus called capitalism. So you can name the virus. So capitalism has become very lethal. It kills more people per year than malaria. Hundreds of people are carrying capitalism. You can increase the rates. Capitalism is spreading at a higher rates than yellow fever. Capitalism infects more people per year than HIV. So it was screen captures from the development of my virus that I called capitalism. So what that my sketches. So I started actually from this one are funny. It's like how to coloriage pictures that I found on Google, and I tried to make it, you know, with the screen of the phone, but it's impossible. But it makes very funny. Statistics. These ones are, it's like, it's a series of selfies that I downloaded online. And it's like the fact that I put something, like I draw some, like some gibberish drawing in front of the phone. So it's like it's not anymore, I like how the perspective is shifting. It's more like a joke, but well, you can find them. I will not show them. I have a lot. So, to give you, that's my my sketches. Moment where I can I turn off the shared screen. Oh, maybe I can keep it. Okay, what over, is there some more questions? Maybe I can't find the chat box. Ah, yes. Ah, okay, that was the last. Anything else?
Hi, I will ask on voice.
Yes.
How do you relate to the process of playing video games and it being thought of mostly as a, you know, waste of time or whatever, entertainment and
An experience. An experience.
You relate to it as an experience?
Yes, experience or experimentation or.
And how?
It's interesting to know that I realized that a video game. I would say that I'm more interested in the gameplays. Like I like to compare gameplays. There is a big reason also of that video game museum. It's that I found out that I started when I was there is a big history of forgeries in video games in Estonia and mainly in Eastern countries. And there was a different way to consume video games. They used to happen this basement place where in the 90s, where you wanted to play video games, you had to pay a few crowns and you could play for a few minutes to a machine. So it could be a Dandy, it could be like some old Sinclair Spectrum, or and there is no traces. Like I couldn't find any pictures, any videos about that places. So I started to think about this idea of folklore. Like it's a folklore, a contemporary folklore that everyone knows, everyone had used to go there. But and also it was interesting that everyone has really crazy story to tell about that place. It was the place where you could be robbed. It was the place where you could find drugs. It was the place. So it was in some way very underground place, like where it was seen more like some teenagers losing their money, but actually it was pretty rough area. And everyone has very good remember about that things. And so also the idea of the museum came somehow like to reactivate this kind of folklore that disappeared. For the rest, I would say that it's more about yes, I like the idea that all that machines have a different relation, like how you are. The contact with the controllers, the fact you play to a Super Nintendo, to a microcomputer or a PlayStation, like the contact and the experience, it's totally different. So we are more into interactive design, I would say, than fine arts. And I would say that I use a lot like the video games as an excuse actually to involve other forms or other practice, or that's why there is the gallery. That's why I'm giving my class there. That's why also we have also a very specific library in the museum, mostly orientated to art. But yes, like. If you want to read that books, like you have to go in a video game museum. If you want to see like the exhibitions that was organized or are organized in the Infinite Life gallery are absolutely not connected to video games at all, or not directly, but like it's the idea is not to yeah. So yes, I would say that that's my relation to video games is more about an experience.
Could I ask what you play at the moment and how often you play?
Hearthstone, a lot.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And Zelda, Ocarina of Time with my son. Actually, I have a we have a GameCube at home, and we played. No, I don't know where I put the box, but yes, I played. There is a version of Ocarina of Time that they published that is normally on Nintendo 64, but they made a collector edition with the a collector edition with the for GameCube with every version of Nintendo 64 Zeldas. I never had the occasion to play it, so I'm discovering it with my son, and very interesting, interesting game. Interesting gameplays. Perfect for this.
Yes, thank you.
Another student asked that, what's your favorite video game?
I have two of them, Tetris, of course, and Katamari Damacy. It's a Japanese game. It's really, I will show you a video. It's really, really crazy. It's not just genius, it's so satisfying, maybe. Okay, but it's, I mean that there is so many, but this one usually it's the first one I think about. Not sure it's the most clever one, maybe, but is my screen is shared?
Not at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now, yeah.
There is one version, pretty cool, on PlayStation 3, Katamari Forever. Wake up, one level is pretty cool, Wake Up the King. So, it's a extremely stupid video game. That the Katamari is this weird ball, and you are the prince. It's this kind of green character that you see on the corner, and actually pushing the. You don't see it because like it's pushing the ball, and you have to stick the things. The quality of the picture is extremely bad. Maybe I can find a better picture. Maybe it will be better. Yes, it's better. So you have to push the Katamari and to stick things. And more you are sticking things, more you are getting bigger. And more you are bigger, more you are sticking bigger things. So you start as sticking some pizza, some glasses, some ananas, some, and then so I will not watch it all, but so now it's big enough now to stick the boats and. So then you are getting so big that now you're on the surface of Earth. So you have to stick the continents, the countries, and then it's getting so crazy. Then you are just in the galaxy. And so the goal is that you have to wake up the king. So the king is sleeping and you have to wake him up. But before you have to stick oranges, bottles, pizzas, and so on. So you start from here and then you can wake up the king. And now you wake up the king. So that's the end of the, okay. So that's, I think with Tetris, my favorite game.
And there's another question. So have you ever played Undertale or Deltarune?
No, I didn't. it's. I think I will lose. I mean, I will not manage to run a video game museum if I start to play that games. What you said, second one, RuneScape, yes? You said no, RuneScape.
No, Undertale or
Undertale, yes, I see. And the second one was?
Deltarune.
No, I don't see even what it is, Deltarune. Is it an indie game? Okay, yes, it's the same kind of Undertale.
Alors, comment ça se passe déjà? Attends, comment on fait pour le passer celui-là? Tu as trouvé quelque chose? C'est quoi ces trucs verts autour de ta bouche?
But no, I'm not. I don't. I couldn't. No, I didn't play that game. I heard a lot from Undertale, but didn't play it. I played a lot of course, RPG games, and but yes. Some other questions. I played a lot, by the way, to Sword and Sorcery. It's one of my last very big indie game experience, I would say. Meat Ball, not Meat Ball, Meat Boy. Interesting one. Paper Please, do you know that one? It's a very confusing game. It's about fictional country where you have to control in a totalitarian country where you have to control the passport of people. And yes, I don't know if I spoiled the game, but yes, it's very disturbing game, very interesting one. I can show, at least maybe I can show the trailer of it. Pepper, please. I really recommend that one. Okay, what else?
Well, someone has asked that how is the museum doing right now?
Oh, of course, very bad. but we started a fundraising campaign via Facebook, and we, thanks to that, actually we see that, yes, as I say, yes, like light behind the clouds. Like we had a big debt because of course we invest money in some materials, and we planned the incomes from the coming ones. That never happened, so we had big troubles actually with the owner of the place. Big is a big word, but means that we had the situation, and thanks to, actually we had, yes, so in 1 week we managed to from that fundraising, like we managed to collect more than 3,000 euros pretty fast. So actually we are, I would say that we are safe until this summer. But of course, we don't know yet when we will be allowed to open. And the thing is not about that only if we open the place, but the world that we knew before this situation will be different when we reopen. So the configuration is different. So we have to, yes, to keep thinking about the alternative model of to finance it. And so of course yes, so I would say that what is very, very blissful is to see that we manage in a year and a half to build a community, and that helping us currently. And this is, yes, I'm very grateful to that. And it's interesting that also a lot of these contributors that are not from, especially from video game industry, but it's a lot of people from the cultural landscape. And but yes, also it's another part also of this. Thanks to that museum, we also manage also to reach different other fields that usually I was not prepared also for, because now we are part of FGAMP. FGAMP is the screen is sharing currently or not? Yes,
it's sharing. Yeah.
FGAMP. So we were since few months. Actually, the discussion started since we've been accepted. So there is we are very lucky to be actually member of FGAMP. So there is different other organisms. So there is the Museum of Soviet Arcade Machines. There is the Vigamus Foundation in Roma. The Finnish Museum of Games in Tampere. So, and they are all that places are like the most important video game or demo scene structures in Europe. And from recently, so we are now part of this organization, and since few months we were discussing about. So we had two big discussions. So once that we had so many works with the museum and our respective activity with Andres, my partner on the museum. That there was discussion about how to make video games or demo scene or art of coding as recognized by UNESCO since a week. So since 2 days ago, Germany managed. So now it's official. Video games, so as part of demo scene and art of coding, are protected by UNESCO. And 10 days ago, Finland had been also accepted. So we are crossing fingers to be the third one. But yes, it's still under process. And yes. So also there was something that been postponed. So I was in contact. So I'm still in contact with the MoMA, with the design, so the Modern Art Museum of New York, with the conservator of the interactive design collection of the museum. That the idea was to, I would say, is still like just it's postponed, but to organize the collect, because MoMA since few years are collecting video games, and it's very interesting that because it's industrial objects, that it's somehow like passing over the codes of how we would expect or imagine object collected in national museums. And yes, so the idea was to exhibit the collection from MoMA, because we already have in our museum a part of this collection. So the idea was to exhibit the MoMA collection without to send any piece from abroad. So and to yes, so that was another part of the things that I was still working on currently. Any other question? So I hope, like, I would like that after we reopen, like that this will happen. And also I like the idea that I like to work on this UNESCO thing also. Like it's, I don't know why, I think it's interesting. Thank you. Is it that? Is the logo like that means clap? Or is it a hand? I don't hear you. Okay, any questions? More? Or is there something on the, yes, here. Moment, sorry. Chat. Thank you, Camille. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay.
Well, I guess if there's no other questions or comments, we can close this up for today.
Don't hesitate. You can, even if you have some more, thank you very much, Matthias. If you have any other questions, or you can, of course, if you want to see some more stuff, I'm pretty sure I passed a lot of things that I would have to talk, and I just forgot because I was thinking about things while I was talking. So you can just find on the internet. You can also ask me questions, and I'm always curious also to see students' works, that if you have some questions, you can write me and to show me stuff or whatever you want, that you can write me. And it's you can get my address, I think, from easily from, I think, from the school, or from can I write on the, yes. Voilà. Okay. So thank you very much all that everyone stayed. I see a lot of people stayed, and it was a pleasure to have this occasion to talk to you, and see you soon. I really hope that we will be able.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming and talking about your art and sharing your passion about the, video games. So it's very fascinating. Thank you.
My pleasure. So enjoy your time.
Yeah. Right. So take care.
You too.